Hi, this is Kerry Murphy. I'm doing this tutorial for AE Tuts Plus. I'm a motion graphics designer in the Netherlands and I work for my own studio called Odd One. And this is the shot that I will be showing you how to make today. Okay, so basically how I created this shot was just to track the golf club head. Then I applied that information onto a null, which I then used in Trapcode Particular Emitter that created the motion swing path for me. This technique's really useful for a lot of different things. So once I'm done showing you this shot, I will show you a few different examples that you can do with this. Okay, so let's get to it. I got my footage here. This was shot on the Panasonic HVX 200. I shot it on 50 frames per second, so in slow motion, and I really cranked up the shutter speed as high as possible so I wouldn't get too much motion blur for the club head itself. Plus, it just looks a lot nicer with high shutter speed. So to start out with the shot, it's important to analyze that the parts that might give trouble in your motion tracking. For example, this part where the club kind of blends into the color of his pants. So it's probably not going to track very well over there. And when we look further, when the club head is going really fast, there's big gaps between. So the tracker will probably not be able to track it all the way. So we're going to have to combine it with some manual and automatic tracking. Plus here, you can hardly see it. So we definitely have to just track it manually. So let's start from the beginning. Okay, so in your project, just go to layer and make a new null object. Then choose your layer, go to animation and track motion. And here we are. Just go to the beginning of the footage or beginning of the endpoint of the footage. And we're just gonna see where the club head starts moving and we start tracking from there on. Okay, so somewhere, yeah, this is good. So just make the inside tracker just a little bit bigger than the club head itself, and the search area also a little bit bigger. And then we just see what happens when we just do analyze forward. Okay, so it kind of goes bad very early on already. So if we just zoom into a timeline and just see, I'm using page down to go one frame forward. So around frame 6, it starts messing up. So from here on, we kind of have to start tracking manually. So just going one frame forward and bring the tracker to about the same point as where it's been from the beginning on. So this can be a quite tedious process sometime, especially if you have few hundred frames to do it with. This is not so many frames. It's this is about 75 frames that we have to track, so it's not that much actually. And some of it we can do automatically, but let's just do this process manually. It's fairly important that you just keep to the middle of the club or the tracking point that you started out in, just to make sure that the track comes in nicely. So I'm just gonna keep going, so bear with me. It's fairly annoying that the tracker keeps going down here, so what I can do is just delete these keyframes here just by clicking on them, and they're gone. So now it's not gonna keep jumping backwards every time. So just with page down, one frame forward, and just follow the club head. The motion here is becoming a little bit less, so we can see maybe we can go to analyze it just forward by itself. No. Pretty bad. Pretty bad. Oh, now it's deleted all. Let's bring it back. Again. Okay, just come back to the frame where it was going alright, and then we go back. So we have this issue again where it keeps popping back to the keyframe. So let's just delete a few of them. And then go back to our processing. Okay, here the movement is really small, so I think we could do just click here, go frame by frame. It goes pretty alright. Here it starts going a little bit backwards again. Maybe if we go in and just adjust our tracker a little bit. Oh no, the swing path becoming too fast again. So let's just go back to our manual tracking. And just follow the club all the way through. See how fast it's going now. If I would have not put the shutter speed up with my camera, it would be just a long, blurry path, and it would be even hard to see where the club head actually is. And as you see, the faster it goes, the more jagged the motion path becomes. So it becomes quite important that once we're done with our tracking, that we smooth out the track so the Trapcode particular path won't look as jagged as it does at the moment. So here, almost done with the track. It's going fairly quick. Sometimes I can do tracking for hours and hours, and it can be really tiring and tedious, but this one's fairly easy to do actually. Okay, let's go back to where we were. And sometimes it's alright to even skip maybe one frame on the way. But here I'll just do every single frame just to make sure that my path is nice and smooth all the way through. Okay, so here we can probably just let the tracker track the rest. Yeah. Okay, so in edit target, just make sure you have the null that we created before. That's the motion target. Press OK, and then apply, and apply it to both X and Y dimensions. Click away this and just come back to your composition, and here we see all these keyframes, and they have been applied to the null itself. Looks pretty alright. Maybe you have some trouble here where you see that the path doesn't look as smooth, and especially around this area where the path is really far out. Okay, our footage has moved a little bit, so let's just reset the position for it. Okay, looks pretty alright. The tracker looks like it's following the club head. So what we can do now is just choose the keyframes of the null, go to window, and choose the smoother. Well, it was already open, so it closed now, so let me just open it again. Usually I just try different tolerances, but I know in this case 3 gives me a fairly good result, so I'm just gonna apply that, and that makes fewer keyframes, but it also adjusts the motion path for me automatically. So it's looking pretty good. So now all we have to do is just hook up these position keyframes to our particular emitter. So first of all, just start by creating a new solid. Doesn't matter what color. Then effect and Trapcode particular. So we get the startup point of Trapcode particular. It's always good to name your layers. So do that. And then just by going to the emitter, bring the null to the top of the timeline. So you see the position value is really good. And in particular itself, for the position XY, while holding the Alt key, press on the stopwatch. And we're just gonna pick whip the position values from the null into the XY values of the particular emitter. And already we have the emitter following the line. Looks kind of funky at the moment, but with a few adjustments, we can make it look fairly good. Just take all the velocity out and see what we get. And it's getting much better already. We got the path. We got some issues here when we got a little bit of a jagged edge. And we also don't have enough particles, so let's just try 1000. Here where it's going kind of fast, it's still not enough. So let's just put it to 1500. So yeah, now it looks fairly good. You see it's kind of jagged at the moment, but that can be just solved by doing the position subframing. Linear already gives a pretty good result. This is only in particular version 2. When I made this shot, I only actually had particular version 1.5. So I came across this issue that the whole line was just super jagged. So what I did, I exported this line just as by itself, just soloed out layer. And I brought it into Illustrator, and I made some illustration paths just to make it look a lot nicer than this. And then I brought it back into After Effects and animated that line with the stroke effect. And it was a lot more tedious than this is, so thank God for particular version 2, and especially this effect. So yeah. Okay, so we basically already have what we're going for. We just need to change the color to our favorite color, or the color that the client wants to go for. In my case, it was for Golf Team Holland, and the Golf Team Holland color is orange, somewhat this orange, so that's what I went with. And yeah, we're fairly close to our result here already. Just look, the track goes really well. The line looks nice and smooth. Only thing is that we just have to kind of mask him on top back here again, just so the line kind of disappears behind him to give the illusion that it is actually going behind him. So yeah, in this case, the client wanted to see the full path, but at first I actually had just a line following it. So if I just change the size over life and just put the life in seconds down, we just get this kind of a swing effect, and the higher you ping the life per seconds, the longer it becomes. And I actually thought this was way cooler in the beginning, but the client thought that it was really interesting to see the whole path. So in my final product, I just left the whole path in there. But as you can see, just if you just play around with it, you can get all kinds of crazy effects. Here we see that our path is kind of not following it perfectly. So what we can do is just go between the last and second last keyframe and just pull the track there. So that will make the line follow, and just always between the last and second last keyframe, and that will make keyframing a lot easier. Okay, so that's pretty much it. I mean, you can just play around with the particular settings and see what you can get out of it. Now just lastly, I'll just show you how to mask the shoulders back on top. It's fairly easy. Just duplicate the main footage layer, bring it on top, and just look at the shape. It doesn't have to be really perfect or anything, but just so it kind of gives the illusion. When doing this type of stuff, it's probably better to make the shoulder separately, then make the arm separately, and this arm separately into their own masks. and then the keyframing becomes a lot easier, because now we have issues like this where we have to kind of keep adjusting the mask. But if we have several different masks, it becomes a lot easier. And here as well, we have to create a new mask. Just simple ones, because when you look at it from far, it already gives the illusion that it's disappearing behind him. And with the mask, same thing, just bring in a few keyframes, just analyze the shot a little bit. You don't need a keyframe for every single frame. But let's say I'll put one here, just adjust the mask so it looks like it's disappearing behind his body or his face. But then you have to be careful and also make sure that it works for every single frame. As you can see here, it's coming out a little bit. Also on this side. And this mask we also have to move away. So let's play around with that. All this footage will be supplied to you as well, so you can play around with it. Or you can just film your own stuff and see what you get. Now I'm just going to show you a few different examples that I did using this exact same technique. Okay, so other examples I did, I just filmed my finger, tracked it the same way as I did with the golfer, played around with particular settings a little bit, and created this iPod Nano commercial looking path that everybody's doing these days in commercials and in practically everything. And then just put a little Andrew Kramer optical flares on top of that to create this effect. I mean, you can do anything with this technique that I just showed you. If you have a little magic wand wandering around, you can make pixie dust. For your girlfriend or boyfriend, you can make a little I love you video. Very cheesy, but some people just love that. And with motion tracking, of course, you can do lots of things like logo replacements. Very great thing, just learn to motion track really well, and you can combine your footage with some really great graphics, things that a lot of your friends will be impressed by. And it's very useful also if you want to enter the VFX world, is motion tracking. So keep that in mind, see what you can get out of this footage yourself. There's infinity amount of possibilities, but the funnest thing, of course, is working on your own footage and see what you can do. So yeah, that's about it. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I learned something. Just try out some stuff for yourself. I hope to hear from you guys. If you got questions or anything, just post it and I will try to answer it best I can. Okay, thanks a lot. See you guys.